Hello world! You probably clicked this video to wonder, what is a resistor? Well, don't worry. Today we're going to talk about what is a resistor, what it's used for, how does it resist, what is it made out of, how to make a resistor at home, and making circuits with resistors, as well as getting the value of a resistor with these called bands. So let's get started. So what is a resistor? A resistor resists the current in your circuit. So in this demonstration, we have water that represents the energy that's running through your circuit. And this is the pipe as if the wire of your circuit. So let's say you connected a 9-volt battery to your wires that makes a complete circuit, and you have this power that's going through this wire. Well, how do you amplify that current so that it doesn't fry out your devices that takes less volts than your battery? So a resistor, that's exactly what it does. It amplifies the current so that when the power, well, in here it's water, it goes through, it will amplify it so that the end result will be less current, so it does not overpower your devices and ruining them. And it's measured in ohms. That came from George Simon Ohm. Now that you know what resistors are, let's talk about what resistors are made out of and how it resists the current out of one end out of the other. So looking deep inside of your resistor, there's a coil of wire that looks something like this. Now, the wire is made in this helix shape, and on the outside of the wire, there's a film of conductive material that's around it. That's usually made of carbon. Now, outside of that carbon material, there is an insulator that surrounds it, and the value of the resistor is measured between the thickness of the insulating material and the thickness of the wire. So the thicker the wire is, and the thicker the insulating material is, which means greater resistance, so less current coming out of the end. Now, another thing about your resistor is that the ends of your resistor, that's the wire, is made of a metal or a metal oxide film like tin oxide or nickel alloy. That way, when you take your soldering rod and you solder, it doesn't melt your ends of your resistor, so that way you can desolder it and then use it for something else. And that is the basics of a resistor and what it's made of. Now we're going to get into making a homemade resistor. All you need is a piece of paper, 2 conductive metal paper clips, a pencil with a good tip, and a multimeter to test your resistor. So the first step you want to do is to take your piece of paper and then your pencil to make a really thick, dark line. Now, the thicker and darker, the better, so that way the energy can run through the line of the graphite from one end to the other. And make sure there are no white spots in between. So I've already made my line on this side to show you. So now what we're going to do is to take this up here so you can see it better, and then take one paper clip and put it on this side so that it's in contact with the graphite that's in the middle. Then take your other paper clip on the other side so that they're only in contact with the graphite. So then you're going to measure your paper resistor by taking your multimeter and setting it to 200k ohms. Now, on average, this is about a 85k resistor. But we're going to see what it actually is. So here we go. So take the positive side on one side and the negative on the other paper clip, and it's about 180, 88, 89, 100. So you can see it's over 100, over 85 ohms of resistance. So what really determines your resistance is how thick your graphite line is and how thick the paper clips are. So that is how you make your homemade resistor with paper clips, paper, and graphite. Now we're going to see how resistors are used in circuits. So we're going to take this 9-volt battery and attach it to a resistor, then an LED light. So the power goes through the negative side to the positive. So we're going to attach the resistor to the negative side of the 9-volt battery with some lead-free solder. And all we need is a little bit, and let it dry for 2 seconds, and it's already stuck to it. So now the power will go through the resistor to the LED light. It will not fry out the light, just so. So a more of a complex example of what resistors are used for is with thermometers and a LCD screen. So with this circuit, what it does, it takes power to the thermometer from the negative side, and then it resists the current, and then when it gets to the thermometer, it doesn't fry out, and then it reads back into the board, and then what it reads from the thermometer, it then displays on the LCD screen, which you can see here, that is 68.46 degrees. Now we're going to get the resistance value of the resistor by these bands. So there's 4 and 5 resistant bands, also 6. But for 4-band resistor, the first 2 bands will give you the number. So yellow on this chart is 4, then purple is 7, and then the black band is the multiple, so that'll be 1 times 47 is 47. And then the last band is your tolerance level, which is gold, so that's 5%. So 5% of 47 is like 2.35. So usually resistors and components can have a percentage of how much they can malfunction, and that's the tolerance. So it could be about like a 49 resistor or a 45 ohms resistor. So that just gives you the tolerance, number, and your multiplier. And with a 5-band, there's 3 numbers, then you have your multiplier, and then your resistant tolerance. So that's how you get the basics of a resistor value. A quick overview of what resistors are. So what resistors are is they amplify the amount of current that's going through your circuit to the end of the resistor. So you have this huge amount of current, and when it reaches the end of your resistor, it's amplified to this small current. An example of that would be this 9-volt battery. It has this huge current going through it, but when it gets through the resistor, it resists the current so that when it goes to the light, it does not fry out, as so. So you might be wondering, how does the resistor resist the current? So an overview of that is that there's a coil of wire in the center of it, and then this coil of wire is surrounded by a compound that's called carbon, and then there's an insulator on the outside. Now what determines the resistance is how thick the wires are at the ends and how thick the insulator is. That will determine how much resistance it resists. And to get the actual amount is you have these color bands. The first 2 on a 4 color band resistor is the number. So this is a 4 and that's a 7. Now the third one is the multiplier. So black will equal 1. So that's 47. And the fourth one is the tolerance level, because the components can malfunction by a certain amount of percentage, and this one is 5%. And then we also made a homemade resistor with graphite, 2 paper clips, and a piece of paper. So all this should get you started on the basics of resistors. And now, thank you for watching.